Week 2 waiver wire right now on Fantasy Football Today Express. All right, it's Adam and Jamie here. Do you find it weird to say week 2 waiver wire when we never had a week 1 waiver wire? Doesn't it feel like
Well, we did.
Not really, though. Like, we didn't do like a big show on it. I know you wrote the column, but come on. That was easy column.
Did you not make any moves prior to the games in week 1?
Not a waiver wire move.
I saw you had some players in leagues.
I added, but I didn't set my. All right, whatever. Anyway, who are the top priorities on the waiver wire this week?
Jordan Mason, Isaiah Likely, Baker Mayfield, Zach Charbonnet, Jaylen Wright. I just sent those as the top 5 for our show on CBS Sports HQ at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday.
Wow, you're on HQ and then CBS Sports Network?
Adam, I want to tell you something. Never said this to you before.
Yeah.
I'm not a human being. I'm a robot.
Yeah, you are. He is a robot. He's a waiver.
Put a battery in every few weeks, and I just go where they tell me.
He's a waiver robot. We got to get into it a little bit on the main show about Isaiah Likely.
I'm sure people will say I act like a robot sometimes.
Well, even robots sleep. Jamie doesn't really do that. But
last night, mess.
Likely versus Mason, and you're saying Mason should be the top priority.
Yes, I do, but it's not with any certainty because, as we discussed, you might need a tight end as more of a priority than a running back, and McCaffrey may return in week 2. But let's play out a few scenarios here. What if Christian McCaffrey does not play week 2 and they win? And they don't play him in week 3 and they win. And they decide they're just going to keep playing this out until McCaffrey is 100% ready to go. Because where are the 49ers expected to be? In the Super Bowl. So they're not going to risk this guy at less than 100%. The flip side of that is Christian McCaffrey returns next week and Jordan Mason goes back to the bench and never plays again. So you have to understand that. The other side of it, what likely is this the norm? Forget the production, just the involvement. Or is this a 1-week situation because Mark Andrews was coming off a car accident and didn't have his full practice time? I know he played his usual amount of snaps. But again, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. So for me, I'm going to prioritize Mason this much more, slightly more, but I'd love to get both. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. In fact, you can try and get both.
What do you recommend for the Puka Nacua manager? Needs wide receivers.
So it's a little bit deeper position, which is nice. So we discussed, right? Your favorite guy is one of the Rams guys, right?
I said, I hope it didn't come off that way. My favorite guy is probably Shaheed, but if I had to, I think Shaheed's probably rostered in most of my leagues. So I assume I'll be claiming or trying to claim Demarcus Robinson the most, and then Tyler Johnson.
Okay, so for you and David was Shaheed. For me, it's Brandin Cooks. To me, Shaheed is like a 1A. I like both these guys. I just look at for immediate future. If Ferguson is out, I like Brandin Cook's situation. Like you told me, Ferguson's missing several weeks. I like Cook's situation better than Shaheed moving forward. But both going to be hopefully heavily involved in their offenses and producing at a high level. The Rams guys, both Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson. Tyler Lockett still, who continues to be a factor for Seattle. And then you could just continue down the line of plug-and-play guys. Greg Dortch, Wan'Dale Robinson, the Broncos guys who, 3 of them got 8+ targets. Like there's just a lot of options there. So it's somewhat of a sliding scale. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dortch and Robinson are 6 for 58 type guys every week, 11, 12 PPR points. That's not awful if you're trying to, scramble to replace somebody like Puka.
No, that's not bad at all. Which Rams receiver would you prioritize?
I prefer Demarcus Robinson just because of how he finished last year, his role in the offense. You mentioned it. Tyler Johnson had a great play, and he's certainly going to play a lot more and maybe the Puka replacement. But I also think that Stafford is not necessarily relying on that role. Stafford is so good. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He'll use Demarcus Robinson like he did last year. He'll use, obviously, Cooper Kupp. He'll use Colby Parkinson. So I just lean on the veteran as the proven veteran a little bit more so than Tyler Johnson. And so I don't want to chase just that one play from Johnson. Could be wrong, but I think Demarcus Robinson's a little bit safer.
All right, we're going to take a break on FFT Express, and we'll talk about some running backs. We got to talk about the Dolphins situation when we come back. So on Monday, both Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane missed practice. So how are you? They have a Thursday game against the Bills. How are you approaching this backfield?
I would prefer to get Jaylen Wright if I don't need anybody. I do think Jeff Wilson will probably play more than Jaylen Wright, but I think Wright's ceiling is higher if he ever gets that opportunity, which he may get this week. They're going to use both guys, assuming both are out. If one is out and you just, again, need someone, I think Wilson probably is the safer bet, but I would shoot for more upside and shoot for Jaylen Wright. But like you said about Shaheed, Wright is probably rostered in a lot of our leagues. So just depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, Wright's 61% rostered. Wilson's 1% rostered. And White was inactive. Jaylen Wright. Wright was inactive. We call him White. But that doesn't mean that he could still have more carries than Jeff Wilson. He's more explosive. So here's a question. This is a tough one, right? Like, do I pick up Jeff Wilson, Tank Bigsby, or Justice Hill? This comes from Cap for Life. I have Devon Achane. So this is kind of weighing short-term versus long-term. Wilson, Bigsby, Justice Hill. What would you do if you were capped for life?
If you don't want to overhaul your roster and just can pick up one player, I think you just maybe handcuff the Dolphin situation and go with Wilson if Achane is going to be out. But hopefully we know today. My guess is going to be that we get a do not practice designation for Achane and potentially Mostert. Like, why would they practice them on a short week if they're both banged up? So it makes it a little trickier. So if you don't need anybody, the answer is probably Bigsby, because he may play as much as the other guys. And if there's something happens to ETN, then Bigsby could be a superstar. And I'm going to regret trading him too.
Question for, I traded you Bucky Irving. So
True.
Question from Michael. Who's the second waiver wire tight end after Likely?
Taysom Hill, who may be rostered in a lot of leagues, and then Juwan Johnson. So you can get two Saints tight ends if you want.
Yeah, I mentioned this on the longer show. Taysom Hill, he had 4 carries in the first quarter, and he did really well with his 5 carries, and a few of them were wildcat carries, direct snaps. So you do wonder if in a more competitive game, if they'll use him more, and he could always get a goal line carry. That was Kamara in week 1, but could always be Taysom Hill. And then let's finish with quarterbacks here. So Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, lay it out for us.
Baker Mayfield should be the priority just because I think he's worth starting this week and could be the starter long-term, starter for your fantasy team long-term. He's coming off 7 of 8 games going back to last year, including the playoffs, with 20 or more fantasy points. Like you said, he averaged 25 plus points over that span. He's got 300 plus yards in 3 straight games, including those 2 playoff games. Fields is more of a long-term play. I don't know if he's even going to start in week 2. I hope he does, because I think there's more upside for him than there is for Russell Wilson, clearly. So don't go crazy from a fab perspective. And then Geno Smith, don't love the matchup for him against the Patriots, not necessarily because of their defense. I just don't think he's going to have to do very much. But he's the third guy.
All right, that is Fantasy Football Today Express. We got a full hour, 5-minute show with more waiver wire options for you. Thanks to Jamie. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. I'm Adam. We'll talk to you tomorrow on FFT Express.